the victims in their rights could have pulled out a gun and shot you, and they would have probably been given a parade.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
3 cases that have been filed. Are you Jordan Michael Jones Jr.?
Yes, sir.
First case, you were charged with aggravated robbery, a first-degree felony on or about December 6th, 2023. If convicted, you face no less than 5 nor more than 99 years confinement in prison or life imprisonment and a fine up to $10,000. You want the same charge with a different victim. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And then as well, the same charge with a third victim.
Yes, sir.
So each victim carries with it its own separate punishment range. So you're looking at up to life imprisonment on 3 cases. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes, I have quick.
Go ahead.
Come on, Mr. Aaron. Campbell. Aaron.
You're calling somebody as a witness.
And it's not gonna be. It's
Come forward. Who is this?
His
Please?
name's Aaron Campbell.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly lower your hand, please?
All right. Mr. Campbell, will you state your name for the record?
Aaron M. Campbell.
And to my right, is that your grandson?
That's my grandson.
All right. For his, you asked him that we lower, the judge lowered his bond, right?
Yes.
And currently he has 3 $75,000 bonds, right?
Yes.
Has the family spoken with the bondsman?
Yes.
And who's the bondsman you spoke to?
Mr. Aaron Reed.
All right, well, and if Al Reed charges 10% on those bonds, just quick math on the top of my head, that'd probably be about $22,000 out of your pocket, off his pocket. Is that something that y'all can't afford? Right?
You know,
And grandmother, she lives here.
yes.
And he lives here, right?
Yes. He says for me in Fort Nation.
He's said that again, sir. He does what?
He lives with me in Port Nature.
Was he living with you on December 6th of last year when this occurred?
Yes, sir.
All right. And as far as his criminal history, to my knowledge, no criminal history.
He
Right?
has no criminal history.
All right. And then as far as the nature of the offense, the judge just said about 3 separate victims. But in this case, as it relates to the nature of the offense, he's not accused of pulling a gun or robbing anybody directly, right?
No, sir. From what I was understood, he was.
The nature of the charges against him was more of as a party or accessory, but in terms of him being a danger to the society, he never had a gun or never pointed a gun at anybody, and never robbed anybody directly. Right?
No, he don't even own a gun.
So
Wait, what was that last question? He did what now?
he didn't point a gun at anyone. He's basically just long and short of it, he's accused of being an accessory to drive. But he didn't get out there and pull a gun on no.
But does not the law state that you are as culpable if you are a willing party to an offense?
That's true.
Okay.
Well, the only reason I'm bringing that out is the purposes of the bond and a safety to the community. It's not like I'll be the state is alleging that he pulled a gun on somebody, right?
Yes.
So for
Every party involved in a crime, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, or 10, whatever part they play, it was a necessary part in the violent crime episode, and it plays as much an important part as any other parts, whether you're holding a gun and pointing it at someone, or driving the getaway car, or doing something that it was voluntarily an act that assisted in the carrying out of the crime. They're just as culpable. It goes back to World War II and the rules during the apocalypse, when people who stood around and thought they just passively helped and weren't the ones who were directly victimizing, they thought they were not culpable. And we all know that people are, if they are a party to the offense as described in the Code of Criminal Procedure and the Penal Code is the definition of parties. I'm reading this probable cause affidavit now about what part he played.
So I'll just read it. Are you asking that the court lower the bonds from the $75,000? And he definitely doesn't have that kind of money, right?
No.
So if it's at 10 and you go 3,000, I'm sorry, 1,000 each, which is 3,000, would that be a little bit more manageable?
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Campbell, are you aware of your grandson riding around in vehicles with individuals who did have guns on them?
No, sir.
And again, he was living with you at this time that the alleged offenses were committed.
Sir.
He was staying with you at the
Yes,
time.
sir.
of
He
the-
was staying at 841 Oak Bend. And the vehicle that he was driving, the gray Jeep, it was a blessing to him. I had picked it up on a DWI and the owner of the Jeep, came. And since he was working with me, she blessed him with it.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that? He did what you bless?
She blessed him.
What does that mean?
She.
I know
gave
what
it-
a
gave
priest
it-
blesses people in Catholic Church. I know that. What
That's
are
I
you
mean.
talking about?
That's what I mean. The Jeep that he was driving, Judge, it was blessed. It was a gift to him.
Okay. Okay. You're using a definition of that word that's kind of well down the definition list in synonyms, but go ahead. Keep going.
I have no further.
What do you know about what happened at the scene? What do you know?
Judge, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
I
that's a
really-
good thing. You're under oath.
Yeah, I really.
You don't
all I
know.
He told me that he was going, visit someone, and when me and my wife talked about it, I was in Louisiana picking up a call from the auction, and we got a call that he was in jail this hour.
What else do you have?
That's all I got.
Okay. The court has reviewed the probable cause affidavit as well as the public safety report involving the defendant. And here, this probable cause affidavit, which is prepared by a police officer, states that about 4:35 PM on December 6th of last year, police were dispatched to Steelton Street in Beaumont in reference to a robbery in which males were being held at two people were being held at gunpoint by other two males. Police arrived and saw two people leaving, including the defendant. They called them to stop. They began to run on foot from the police. One of the people was seen placing items into the back seat of a silver and colored Dodge Nitro. That's your car. That's the
Yes.
car you're talking about.
Yeah,
While the driver, who is the defendant in this case, remained in the driver's seat. The vehicle was parked a short distance away from 4700 block of Ironton, which is 1 block away from the victim's home. Following the other subject evading and being apprehended by police, the defendant was contacted, at which time you claimed to be a victim in this robbery. During the course of this investigation, several inconsistencies were discovered in the defendant's account of events, leading officers to suspect that the defendant had been indeed involved in the aggravated robbery, in which subjects had personal items taken from them while being held at gunpoint. A consent search of one of the phones of the actors, I guess it was the defendants or somebody else's, the other party, phones were given, at which time communication was discovered between this defendant and the other person. Who is the other person? Do we know what that person's name is? I presume they were.
Your Honor, but there was 3 other actors, and at least one of them got back in the vehicle with the defendant here after the robberies there.
Who else was indicted?
There was Cameron Abraham, Edward Brown, Cameron,
There were more than 3?
just the 3.
And then him, the
Yes.
defendant, Jones, Abraham, and Brown.
Yes, sir.
Is that it? Okay. All right. The facts of this case, let's show that the defendant either alone or primarily or as a party placed guns into held the victims at gunpoint threatening their lives. Items were taken from them. Then the defendant and others fled when the police showed up, which guilty, there's an old saying that's proverbial. Guilty men flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous stand bold as a lion. The defendant fled from the scene, which from the investigation, and also provided false information to the police. All of those are culpable elements to pointing and to someone as a participant in the crime, and also under the law shows that he is culpable. When you point a gun at someone and threaten them, their lives, most people, normal people, think that they're about to die. They've lost control of the independence of their life. That's not the way our Creator intended it to be. You are not supposed to have control of anybody's life but yours, and maybe your children, but you're supposed to do it in a good way, not in a threatening way. I understand from talking to 40 years in this, that most people who have a gun pointed at them and are no longer in control, that lives with them their whole life. They wake up at night with nightmares because they're not in control. Somebody else, a stranger did. That's not right. It's not the way it's supposed to be. And you pay a price when you're involved in that. I find the bonds to be appropriate under these circumstances. When guns are used, lives are threatened. The defendant flees, found his police determined his statements were false. And those are all bad things. Those are negative things that all point to his involvement in the commission of this crime. And these are not just minor crimes. These crimes, each of them carry life imprisonment. Those are 3 lives sentences that are possible. I find under these circumstances that the bonds are appropriate.
And just to add, Judge, I don't know if it'll make a difference for you, but and I think the prosecutor verified, I believe that those weren't the real guns, they were BB guns. In my understanding, she can correct
at the end of the day, most victims don't know the difference. And that's, if they knew, they wouldn't be letting them take their stuff. It doesn't matter whether it can fire or not. It's a pretty foolish thing anyway, because the victims in their rights could have pulled out a gun and shot you. And they would have probably been given a parade by saving their own life under circumstances where foolish behavior. It even compounds to have a weapon that nowadays so many people are carrying weapons for defense. They can pull it out, and if they know how to use it, I mean, that's a foolish thing to do. That compounds all of this. Anyway, I can rail on it, but it is even worse knowing that it's terrible to have a gun. But if you've not only put them in a position where they think they're about to die, but you could have been the one actually shot and killed. They would have, under the law, they would have acted heroically. That needs to be fixed. This all needs to be fixed. And what's going on while you're living in his home is not appropriate. He doesn't seem to be a man who's a bad role model. Why aren't you acting appropriately like your grandfather? Where are your parents? Why don't you live with them?
One of them, he has a criminal record, and me and my mother, we don't really have connections.
I'm sorry.
Me and my mother, we really don't have a connection.
His grandmother raised him since birth.
Is that right? Your grandmother did?
Yes, sir.
Was she a good lady?
Yes, sir.
Did she set a good example?
Yes, sir.
What's going on? Why are you here then? Why are you here? You can make a foolish mistake, but you got good role modeling, even in spite of the fact your parents may have not been acting parental responsibly. This needs to be fixed. And you need to also run around with a better group. It sounds like that. And there's an old saying that I've come to realize is accurate. When you're with a group, you will be pulled down to the lowest common denominator. The group, you want to run with people who are even better than you. They pull you up to better decision making. Hang around a group that's bad, they will drag you down to their low common denominator, which is another important thing about growing up. You need to realize who to run around with. Run around with people that help you be better, not worse. But you have to think of this. Those people, a victim, could have pulled out a gun and shot you, and you would have been trying to babble out, well, the gun's fake, and that wouldn't have worked. You'd have been shot and killed. This is, you have a good lawyer. He knows how to handle this, where this can be fixed, possibly, without a trial. These are serious cases, and they're treated robberies where guns are used, even if it's not an operable firearm. Victims don't know that. They are traumatized. You can tell them later, well, they go, wow, I'm looking at a gun and all I'm thinking about is my life is about to end and all my family, all my good things in life are ending. That's not right. You should not have control over other people like that. That's not the way it's supposed to. Court's made its rulings. Let me know what's the next event is an
Just
Announcement.
Okay. Thank you. That is all.
Thank you all so very much for watching to the end. Please subscribe and drop a like if indeed you did enjoy. I hope so. Until the next time, I'm off to feed those cats. And if you want to see another cool episode of mine without all the mandatory stuff, then click on the episode on screen now.